Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. This series starts with an old man saying that he's lived nothing but a dog's life, and that he is now 60 years old, and he's rotted in the underworld for 42 of them. And here in Hangzhou, a paradise on earth, he definitely had a chance to live like an emperor. If only he hadn't gone to that fixer's office back then, and if only he never went to prison, and if only he never lost his leg. He has a flashback of a man saying that if he lives like that, he'll get stabbed and die in no time, and living a long and quiet life is the best. And he recalls the same man, soaked in blood, telling him to run as he'll hold the place down. He takes a sip, saying that his brother, Wang Chil, was the one who wanted to live a long and quiet life, wondering why he would have to go and die saving a guy like him. The man then starts to lose his footing, and before he can try to put his peg leg forward, he falls and just stares up at the sky. He says that living like this, he's realized a long and quiet life just is not his style, that his body is way too rotten, and all the past days filled him with regret, and he's sick of it. A country bumpkin gangster like him deserves an end like this, and it's a good day to die. He closes his eyes, accepting his fate, saying he's not going to die, he's going to live a long and quiet life. But when he opens them, he hears someone yelling, calling him lazy, asking how dare he nap in the office from the very first day. He hits him on the back of the head with a broom, asking if he's going to get his act together yet, as the big boss will be here soon, so he needs to hurry up and clean. The dude just wonders where he is, as he remembers closing his eyes on the mountain, then realizes something as he looks down, and his leg is completely normal. He says come to think of it, he recognizes this guy, and he sits there telling him to look at him, just standing there all dazed, asking if he wants another taste of the broom. The man recognizes him as Zhou Pyongdu, but he wonders why he's so young, and he catches a look of himself in the mirror, and says that this is just like when they first met. Then he realizes that he himself looks really young. He starts pinching his cheek, asking if this is really happening, seeing that it's so smooth and there's not a wrinkle in sight. Pyongdu starts beating him with the broom, saying that he must have a death wish today. The dude says it hurts so bad, this definitely isn't a dream. He says it was his first day at the office, and if that's the case, then this is where he spent his entire life. It is the Guangharo fixture's office. In his past life, he was part of the Hyukdos, and they are those who operate in the back alleys of the martial world. They run businesses, collect protection money, and are warriors of the night who deal in black money through lone hay mining, but in reality, they're just a bunch of thugs, and it's pretty simple. And among those Hyukdos, at the very bottom of the barrel is this place, the Guangharo fixture's office, a bunch of pushovers who are too honorable for their own good, and can't even collect a single debt properly. And he wonders if that means he's gone back to being 18 years old again. A man then enters, and we recognize him as Wang Chil, as he asks what they are all doing. Pyongdu looks worried since he's here, and the man just runs over, hugging him, yelling his name. Wang Chil asks what's wrong with him. We finally learn that the man's name is Do Tongdal. Wang Chil asks if he's new, wondering what's wrong with him. Pyongdu says as he can see, he seems to have lost his mind, so he was just here teaching him a lesson. Wang Chil says he must have beaten him a lot for him to act like this. It looks like his mind hasn't come back and has ran further away, but enough of that, he wants to know if the ledgers are finished. Pyongdu says it's not that easy of a job, and they'll have to struggle with it for at least another 4 hours. He asks Tongdal if he can read. He says he can. Pyongdu yells, asking why he keeps running his mouth, saying he's sure he's lying, asking if he can even read 100 characters from a 1,000-character classic. Tongdal says that he's moved past the 1,000-character classic, and he's also dabbled in the 4 books and 3 classics as well. Wang Chil asks if he really finished that, and says that the 4 books thing sounds familiar, saying he's sure it's a difficult book. Tongdal smiles, saying that he was the one who told him to learn it, so that he wouldn't have to kick him out after he became a cripple. Wang Chil says that this is perfect, and that he should try organizing the ledgers, and tells Pyongdu to show him how it's done. Tongdal says it's fine, as he can do it himself. Pyongdu starts barking at him, saying that he needs to beat some more sense into him, and that their ledgers are not as simple as the street vendors. Tongdal says if anything goes wrong, he'll take responsibility. Pyongdu asks what he's talking about, but Tongdal cuts him off, saying that he'll bet his life on it. As long as he's walking the path of a gangster, it's only natural to bet his life on everything that he does. Wang Chil gets excited, saying that it's been a while since they've had a guy like this. And later that day, Pyongdu's opening a book, reading it, and he's absolutely surprised how neatly it's written. Tong Dal says there were too many mistakes, so he had to rewrite it from scratch. Wang Chil laughs, saying that even an illiterate fool like him can tell this is a much better organized ledger, that he wasn't bluffing when he said he'd bet his life. Pyung Du says he's just like him, and Wang Chil says that a real man knows how to admit when he's been beaten, and it looks like a lucky charm has rolled into their office, so he should stay for as long as he can, and not go anywhere. Tong Dal says that he'll stay by his side forever. Wang Chil says that he sure is a sweet talker, if he follows him, he'll show him the house they manage. Tong Dal says of course. And he doesn't know how this happened, but he's been given another chance. After 42 years in the underworld, all he had left were 15 coins, but this life will be different. He wants to get all the golden treasures he couldn't grasp, and the connections that passed by him, and the opportunities he was deprived of. And this time for sure, from the highest place, in the night with the greatest power, he wants to live a long and grand life. As soon as he says this, their office name board falls off the corner. He starts to explain how the sects in this world operate. It's the same as most other martial worlds. There's the orthodox, and the demonic cults, and they're the true protagonists of it. They live in a completely different world from theirs, and they're nothing but the lowest of the low, mere specks of dirt. The only work they have is running brothels, or doing lone hay mining. They stare at the broken signboard, and Wang Chil says that he'll fix it when he gets back. Tong Dal says all the profitable businesses were snatched up by the nearby branches, leaving them to live half-starved, but now things will be different, because he won't let it turn out like that. It takes us to the Celestial Pavilion under the Guangharo shipping office. A man gets excited seeing Wang Chil, and he says that he should visit more often, as he'll forget his face at this rate, and that Wang Chil was well regarded wherever he went, likely thanks to his nature of never looking down on others, and always giving his best. Wang Chil says that it seems that he's come after too long, and the man says not at all, he should have been the one to pay his respects, and he also had other business, so he thought he'd bring the new recruit for introductions. The guy is surprised that the director himself is bringing in the recruits, and Wang Chil says that he heard he even studied, what was it, something called the 4 books and 1,000-character classic. The man says that that sure is impressive at his age, and introduces himself as Go Chang Young, manager of the Celestial Pavilion, saying they'll be seeing each other often, so he looks forward to working with him. Tong Dal says that the pleasure is his, and introduces himself. Chang Young then says that they've just brought in a new batch of wine, and he wants Wang Chil to come and taste it. Wang Chil says that he needs to teach this lad his duties first, and Tong Dal tells him to go enjoy as he can manage things himself. Wang Chil asks what he would possibly know, and Tong Dal says that if he does it wrong, he can correct him later. Right now speaking with the general manager is more important. Wang Chil laughs, calling him a fine lad, saying that if anything urgent comes up, to come get him right away. Chang Young says that he sure is a sharp one, and Wang Chil agrees, saying that it looks like his luck with people has finally arrived, even if it's late. Tong Dal says this time they'll stay together for a very long time, until their dying breaths, but since earlier he's felt a strange sense of dissonance, as if something happened today that shouldn't have. He then looks over, seeing another worker, and he says that old man is struggling too, and the ones at the bottom suffer while the money goes somewhere else. Of all the trades involving brothels, the one that makes the most money is liquor, but most liquor trade goes to the headquarters for the branches, and small shipping offices like theirs only deliver scraps. Even the Guangharo shipping office should be entrusted with a prime business someday, and he realizes it, and says that it was the liquor. He looks over, spotting a rope snapping, holding one of the bottles up as it starts to fall towards a lady. He tells her to be careful, and quickly dashes towards her. We hear it break as we see it fall into pieces beside him, and he sighs out of relief, asking if she's okay. She says that he's the injured one though, and he says that he's fine, asking if she can move. She says yes, and he says just from the aroma alone he's getting tipsy, that must be some good wine. She starts to blush, and some men run in, asking if she's unharmed, and he barks at the worker, saying that they should have carried it better, and that they need to call for the physician quickly for Master Lu. She tells them to stop making a fuss, and then Tong Dal recognizes who she is. She says that she may not know who he is, but she's become deeply indebted at this first meeting, and she formally introduces herself as Lu Ju Yun Jia Yun, the owner of the Celestial Pavilion. Tong Dal introduces himself, saying that he's newly assigned to the shipping office. She tells them to fetch a physician and escort their honored guest, and he says that there's no need to go this far. They start taking him to a bath that has been prepared. She starts smiling at his name, and we hear her asking if Wang Chil really said that as she's talking to Chang Young. He says yes, and though stingy with praise, he spoke endlessly of this Tong Dal fellow. That aside, it seems that even Ja Yun is showing interest in a man, so the sun must be rising from the west. She says that's not what it is, but asks Chang Young what he thinks of him. He says at first glance he seems ordinary, but he gave off the feeling of someone with a story. More than anything, he didn't feel like a man who belonged in this type of work. Tong Dal lets out a deep breath and thanks Ja Yun for the bath and tea, and she asks if the tea suits his taste. He says for a thug like him, such top-grade snow-scent tea is wasted on him. She says that not many people know the scent, and yet he can tell it instantly. She says that she'll send him home with some when he leaves. He says that's already far too generous a treatment, and she asks him if maybe she could offer some favor in return. She has no intention of offending him, it's just that having received a favor, she thought she should repay it. She gets embarrassed, saying that she keeps slipping up in her words, and this isn't like her. Tong Dal says that if she thinks of it as a favor, then grant him one request. He wants her to overlook the mistake of the old man pulling the cart. She asks if that's really all he wants, and he says that he's already been given clothes, enjoyed a bath, more than enough hospitality, and also the top-grade tea. She smiles, saying that he is a good man, and she won't hold him accountable in the slightest, but next time he can come to the pavilion, she wants to attend to him first. He says that would be an honor. Chang Young is listening to this, saying that since the pavilion has opened, not once has she personally attended to a guest, so for her to say that, maybe she's finally found some springtime in her life. And while the Celestial Pavilion is a great brothel with tons of high-quality liquor and good profit, the big problem is that there is another branch called the Baekdong branch, who proposed a wager and staked the Celestial Pavilion. Wang Chil says that it's a shame, and that bastard, Zhang Hebong, intends to swallow the pavilion. Hyung Do says that even if he's the guildmaster's brother-in-law, he's going too far already as he has plenty. Wang Chil says that he's planning to strip them bare. If they don't accept the wager, he'll just use force. And Tong Dal says in his past life it was stolen away by the Baekdong branch, all because of Chief Hebong's greed. In the underworld of the Black Society, the difference in influence between a branch and a shipping office is immense. That's why in his past life, the Celestial Pavilion was lost without a proper resistance, but he can stop it this time. He steps up, saying that if they would like it, he has a suggestion, and he knows exactly how to handle this current situation. We learn more about Hebong, and he is the guildmaster's brother-in-law, and pretty much greed incarnate. In his past life, the Guangharo Trading Company lost countless things to this bastard. Wang Chil says that he'll tell them both about Elder GM and how he borrowed 15 taels of silver from the Baekdong branch, and now he claims he has no money to pay back. If they manage to collect from GM, they'll acknowledge their abilities and won't take over their business, but he wonders how the hell they're meant to collect what even they couldn't. They're just trying to pin incompetence onto them. Tong Dal says that if he puts it that way, it means that the Baekdong branch is incompetent too for losing the 15 taels. Wang Chil says that there's something they can do in this rotten world, since power is the law. He wonders where Tong Dal is going, and Tong Dal says he's going to see Elder GM. Wang Chil asks if he wasn't listening, as that old man didn't cough up a single copper coin under threats and torture. Tong Dal says that just because that pig bastard wasn't competent doesn't mean he won't be, and that he'll take full responsibility and go collect it himself, and they can use this to expand the game a little. After he leaves, Pyung Do starts yelling, asking if he's out of his mind, if he's really trusting that rookie. Wang Chil says that he's someone willing to risk his life. If nothing else he can at least judge a man's worth, and if the rookie is willing to risk his life, he should put something on the line too. They then all arrive, and we hear a man saying that he's finally gotten here, and that he was hoping to watch him learn from his debt collection skills. This is Hebong of the Baekdong branch, and he says he even brought along one of their promising branch rookies, and his name is Jang Baekdong. Tong Dal asks how he's been, and the guy just awkwardly talks to him. Tong Dal explains that before being assigned to an active zone, he and Baekdong trained together as fellow recruits. Hebong asks Wang Chil who the kid with him is, and Wang Chil says that he's also a new recruit with great promise. Hebong asks if this is the one who did such an excellent job with the ledgers that once Wang Chil retires, he'll have to take him under his wing, and even for Wang Chil, if he only has one hand left, he'll have to retire. Tong Dal says that he raised the stakes of the bet just as he asked. If they manage to collect the 15 taels from Elder GM it'll be perfect, but if they fail, Wang Chil's wrist will be cut off. Hebong shows that he's brought a sharp axe, and he's not playing around, saying that they should go and try to see who can collect the silver. Tong Dal says that he can feel his composure, and he must be sure they'll never be able to collect it, but he doesn't know what to do. The GM incident, from beginning to end, is something he remembers every last detail of. The doors burst open, and Hibong asks if the old man's been well. He says that he's got no money they could collect, and Hibong says that he knows, and these are the new players who will face him today, and they'll definitely be able to get the money from him, so he should treat them well. Of course, he won't have the money, but if he does, his face will be disgraced, and he'll be very disappointed. Tong Dal says that he is openly pressuring him, and even if they win this bet, they'll swallow their office whole, so it makes sense. It's time for him to start working the bait. Tong Dal asks GM where his son has been these days, and GM says that he disappeared about a month ago, so he doesn't know. Tong Dal says he heard he gambled away the entire family fortune, even the borrowed money got blown in the gambling dens. That's too bad he didn't lose it in their territory. GM asks if he's here to rub it in, saying just to beat him like the others did, so this useless old life can end. Tong Dal says that he's not some bastard son, so he can't hit an elder, and he tells Beek Dong to hand him the axe. Beek Dong asks what he's planning to do, and Tong Dal says he already mentioned it, that he's got a touch of clairvoyance, and that his sister who left 2 years ago will come back soon, so he shouldn't worry about it. Beek Dong looks physically surprised, asking how he knew about his sister running away, and Tong Dal says that he told him, he's got clairvoyance. Hibong says my ass, and that he must have heard from someone else, and he should focus on collecting the money, asking what he's doing. Tong Dal asks why he thinks he suddenly started talking about it in the first place, as he stomps the floor. He says it's right here, and that he's used the god of fortune for his own greed, and that he'll be punished by heaven, as he swings down shattering the floor. GM yells, telling him to stop, asking what he's doing. Hibong says that he didn't even budge when they broke his limbs, yet he's reacting now. Wang Chil puts him in a full Nelson, telling him to stay back. GM says that there's nothing there, and he continues yelling it, but Tong Dal says that he doesn't know about that, and asks why the guy who supposedly ran away a month ago is coming out now. Wang Chil and Hibong are surprised to see GM's son, whose name is Sangjin. GM tells him that it's alright, not to worry, the law of the state stands firm, they can't harm them. Tong Dal says that it seems like he's grown old for nothing, asking if he's heard that fists rule above the law, and it would have been nice if he handed over the 15 taels by now. GM says that he told him he has no money, asking if he's not afraid of the law. In an instant the mood gets dark and tense, as Sangjin's screaming out on the floor, looking at his severed finger. Tong Dal tells him to open his hand properly, or else his entire hand should be sent flying, and that without a pinky he'll only struggle with picking his nose, but without a thumb, even pissing on his own would be hard. He says not to worry, but once they cut off his hands and feet, they'll cut that off too, so he doesn't need to worry about peeing anymore. GM yells to stop, saying that he'll pay the money that they owe him. In this incident before, he never repaid the debt nor kept his word. He tricked the Beek Dong branch and slipped away under the night's cover, a most disgraceful incident where even a money lender failed to catch his debtor. Tong Dal shows the 15 taels they recovered and says that now they don't have to worry about them. Wang Chil says of course, so they even have the papers to prove that they own this now. Hibong though says this is invalid, and using clairvoyance is forbidden. The axe flies right by his face, and Hibong yells, asking what he's doing, but he's also terrified. Tong Dal apologizes, saying that there's a ghost on his shoulder, and that if he holds still, he'll get rid of it, and he can trust him. Hibong starts screaming, saying that he shouldn't get near him, and Wang Chil stares at him, saying that their trading company just had fortune rolling on its own, and it's all thanks to Tong Dal. Sometime later, Wang Chil asked Tong Dal if he really has spiritual power. Tong Dal asked what he was talking about, and Wang Chil asked how he knew that the old man's son was hiding in a secret underground room. Tong Dal says when he walked on the floor he could tell there was a space beneath it. Wang Chil asked if he really sensed that, and Tong Dal says yes, that's when he got the feeling and the strength that his son, who was known for his filial piety, would just run away, and they must have been planning to escape together when the chance came. 15 taels of silver is more than enough to make a fresh start somewhere. Wang Chil asked if in the end he really doesn't have any powers, and Tong Dal says who knows. They bump cups, and Wang Chil says this brat's always being vague, and when he gets to the headquarters it'll be in his favor to say he does have spiritual power. Tong Dal asked whether they're going to headquarters, and Wang Chil says as he probably knows, he's already rotten and old, and his prime ended the moment the former leader passed away. Still, with 20 years of experience, he can only get someone like him planted in headquarters, and if they return, even that bastard Hibong won't oppose much. If they were to return the Chong Sangru they got from Hibong, Tong Dal asked whether he would do that, and Wang Chil says that if he thinks about it, he's sure Hebong will soon storm into Chongsangru. With just the 5 of them at the Guangharo branch, they can't stop him. Tong Dal says that his guts are so small they're not even fit for bar snacks. Wang Chil asked what he means, and Tong Dal says that he should just handle the petty matters, and as for guarding Chongsangru, he'll find a way, and he's got a little plan to live a long life and not a short one, and to make sure that Wang Chil eats as much as he wants. Wang Chil says that overeating will only give him an upset stomach, and Tong Dal says that he's always hungry anyways. Wang Chil asks how he ended up with a guy like him, and he thought he'd just slack off until retirement. Tong Dal says even if he does, he should slack off from a high position, and that he should become the branch leader. Wang Chil asked if he means sitting in Hebong's seat, saying that he should forget it, as connections matter more than skill, and that guy is the leader's brother-in-law. Tong Dal reminds him that if their marriage breaks off, the tie will be broken just like that. Wang Chil says that's true, but there's no way it could be cut off so easily, and Tong Dal laughs, saying that it will. His face is full of signs of doom, and he's a playboy, so if he gets caught cheating on his wife, there's no way that the hot-tempered leader's sister will just sit still. He's got it all figured out, so Wang Chil just has to follow his lead. Wang Chil says with smarts like his, he should be studying and heading to the imperial palace. Tong Dal asked why he would climb high in the palace, as he'd only end up lacking to the emperor, and instead he'll rule over the night of this world right here, and become the emperor of it. It jumps to Hebong screaming, saying they need to pull out all of the girls out of Chongsangru, the courtesans, entertainers, and everyone, and also to get rid of the alcohol. One of the men says that if they pull the courtesans out immediately, there'll be heavy penalties for breach of contract. He says he'll take responsibility and just to do as he says. The deputy branch leader of Baekdong, named Jin Ho, says that he understands. Then he says that he's tired of this pig, and if he wasn't the leader's brother-in-law, that branch leader seat would have been his. He says it'll take at least 20 days to withdraw them, but asks if they have to do this, as the Guangharo branch is still part of the same group. Hebong asks what he means by part of the same group, and says they're not some antisocial club. They're the black society, and if needed, they'd even stab their parents in the back. He hits him across the face, asking why he doesn't get that, saying that this is why he's in the position he is. Jin Ho asked if he really has to keep living like this. We see Baekdong asking Tong Dal if he really does have spiritual power. His sister came by yesterday, and she left 2 years ago, just like Tong Dal said she would. Tong Dal asks what made him think he was lying, and Baekdong says that he believes him now, but asks why he called him here. Tong Dal says he needs a favor, and he needs to be let into his branch. Baekdong says that if he goes in, he'll cause big trouble with Hebong, and if he gets caught, he's finished too. Tong Dal says that he sees an iron death omen on him. Baekdong gets scared, asking what that is, and Tong Dal says it means he could get stabbed to death, and pretty soon too. Scared, thinking it's true, he asks if that's really going to happen. Tong Dal asks if he still doubts his spiritual power, and Baekdong says no, he believes him, that's why he's asking if he can save him. Tong Dal says changing fate comes at a big price, and Baekdong takes the bait, saying that he'll give him the branch key to the ledger room. Tong Dal says fine, for a friend's life he'll make the sacrifice. Soon Hebong will cut off the booze and women, and after that he'll try to take Chongsangru by force. If Tong Dal gets the branch key from Baekdong, that'll open a path for the booze and women problem. The real issue is the armed takeover, for if their group's men collapse in a single day, they'll be finished. In that case he needs to find someone to deal with it. It jumps to a man saying it's 6 taels of silver up front, 2 taels monthly, and they'll also provide a house for the both of them to live in. He tells the man that he'll be in touch soon and await good news. The man's name is Jang Yusum. A woman asks if he'll accept the offer, and he asks why she's still standing, telling her to go lay down. She says that he could just go back to the military, that she doesn't want to see him abandon his beliefs. This is his wife, named Seon Hae Min. Yusum says that the pay from the military can't cure her illness, and in a world without her, he's swamped and can never escape. For him to cure his wife's illness, he left the military and wandered the Jianghu, but in the Jianghu he was nothing more than an unemployed swordsman. No righteous sects or famous escort agencies would accept him. The only path was for him to walk the road to the end. We hear Tong Dal asking if anyone's home, and he introduces himself, saying that he must be the Grandmaster Yusum. Yusum asks what business brings him here, and Tong Dal says that he's come from the city, and he's likely never heard of their group, but he's from the Black Society. Yusum asks what business he has with him, and Tong Dal says that he would like to bring him aboard. He'll give him 5 taels of silver up front and 1 tael of silver per month. Yusum says this is much worse than the people who were just here, but he doesn't look like he's part of the society at all, and the aura he gives off is unusual, like a sword still in its sheath. Tong Dal says he knows that another society came here first, and he's sure that their terms were better, but a man like him can't become just another thug, and that nobody would just gladly accept the underworld. They don't ask much of him, but if he joins he can promise one thing, and that is if there's anything he doesn't wish to do, he doesn't have to. Yusum is surprised that he's so bold, and says that he overestimates him too much for a first meeting, asking what he'll do if he chooses to do nothing at all. Tong Dal says the tiger can guard its home just by existing, and that this is the key to turning their branch into a tiger's den. Right now, he is the most underestimated person he knows, but he'll make him one of his no matter what. Back at the Guang Haro office, Wang Chil says that from today on, Tong Dal is the squad leader, and that they must serve him respectfully. Pyung Du says that he joined the society 2 months earlier than him, though. Wang Chil says that 2 months is nothing to make a fuss about. Tong Dal enters asking what's going on, and Pyung Du bumps into his shoulder, saying lucky him. Tong Dal just wonders why he's acting like that. A man walks over asking if he's thirsty, telling him to have a glass of water. Another man says that he is now the squad leader, and this is one of the people in the office named Seo Wang-su. Tong Dal says he's only been a member for 10 days, so how could he have such a title, and that Wang Chil should think about the others too. This man's name is also Hebong, so try not to get confused, but he says he has no complaints about it. Wang Chil says that Pyung Du will also eventually accept, so there's nothing to worry about. Wang Chil then asks about the person Tong Dal was recruiting, asking if his coins are safe. Tong Dal says that he's here, and we hear Yusum asking if they're inside. Tong Dal smiles, saying that he came just in time. Outside, he and Wang Chil are staring at Yusum, and Wang Chil says that he's much sharper than any other martial artist he's seen, and he wonders how Tong Dal found someone like him. Yusum says he was only late because he had a lot to think about, and he'll return the money. Tong Dal asks if he's going to the other society, but Yusum says he wants to have a proposal. If Tong Dal spars with him and lasts 10 seconds, he'll accept, and he sent the same proposal to the other society. Wang Chil asks why he would make such a proposal in the first place, and Yusum says he wants to test his intuition, and he's giving the squad leader a chance to leave his sword sheathed. How does he know he's the squad leader already? Yusum says they'll meet again tomorrow at noon, and he leaves. Wang Chil asks Tong Dal how he met someone like this, and Tong Dal says he has a wide network himself. Wang Chil says that it's too bad, if he joined their family they'd be very secure. Tong Dal asks why he thinks he can't, and Wang Chil tells him that there's no way he'd be able to last 10 seconds against someone like Yusum, and he seems stronger than the top master of their society right now. Tong Dal says even 10 of those dudes wouldn't be enough to match one Yusum. Wang Chil says that's strong, and that's pretty nasty. If he didn't want to come he should have just said no. Tong Dal says if he didn't want to, he never would have made the proposal, and it seems like he was trying to find a proper excuse to come to them. Yusum asks if he really thinks he can last 10 seconds. Tong Dal looks up at him full of confidence, but says no. The next day, Yusum thanks them all for gathering here, and we see the people from the society. This man's name is Gong So Sung, and he is with another man named Taehan. He says that he's here to make sure that there's no overstay of the 10 seconds that Yusum offered. Yusum says that he looks quite strong, and he'll use this for his weapon, as he holds up a stake. Taehan says that in the sword forest they don't use toys like that. He says that Yusum must not know that, being in the army, but they fight for real every day. They're not like soldiers who only do sloppy training. Yusum says that he can use whatever weapon he wants, and Taehan warns him that if he loses an arm that's on him, and if he wins their last 10 seconds, he wants to know what happens to the young kid. Tong Dal tells him to stop yapping and just fight already, and there's no way he's going to win. Taehan asks why he's so arrogant, and Tong Dal says that he's just a loudmouth, and the one that brought him should be ashamed. So Sung gets pissed, saying that Tong Dal's confident, and asks him if he'd like to make a bet on whether Taehan can last 10 seconds or not. Tong Dal says that if he does, he'll give 5 silver coins. So Sung asks if he's also trying to get that much back from him, and Tong Dal tells him that if he's scared to just die then. So Sung, of course, falls for the bait, telling him not to change his words. Yusum and Taehan stand before one another, and Taehan thinks that Yusum is scared of his blade. He says that he's nothing but a pampered brat who doesn't know real combat, so he'll finish him in one strike. He charges in, and Yusum doesn't even move, as the attack flies straight towards him. Taehan's already thinking he's won, but before he can comprehend what's happened, Yusum is already behind him. He says that this is a place with real blades, and one prick is 100% death, and he pokes him in the back, saying that he wins. Taehan gets pissed and says that he won't die, and Tongdal says that if it's just a spar he doesn't wish to continue, but if he wants to fight for real, he will continue it. Taehan, realizing that he's lost, drops to his knees, saying that he accepts defeat. Tongdal says far beyond what he expected, and he couldn't even graze him. They can't lose Yusum, as he's too important to them. Tongdal says it's his turn, and So Sung asks what will happen if Tongdal also fails to last 10 seconds. Yusum says that if that happens, he'll go to So Sung's society, asking Tongdal if he understands. Tongdal says of course, since they offered better terms. He has a request as well though, that he wants Yusum to use a real sword instead of a wooden one. Taehan looks surprised, and Tongdal draws a little blade, saying that he wants to test it. Yusum says that he'll gladly be the opponent for his test, and he starts to unsheath his blade, releasing in Yusum aura. So Sung says the killing intent is on another level from before, that he didn't even use his true power in the spar with Taehan just now, and he wonders if he's really trying to kill Tongdal. Yusum charges in, saying he'll attack first, and he swings towards Tongdal's throat. Both So Sung and Taehan are speechless, and Yusum smiles, saying fortunately his intuition was right, as Tongdal blocked his attack with a little knife. If you've watched till the end, comment, "Wim," to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.